outside Colleyville Middle School these days is a sign that says it all. But who is Calvin? This was Calvin Higgs in kindergarten, a pretty cute kid. This was Calvin after a gasoline explosion and fire burned half his body. This is Calvin today, a 7th grader still bearing the scars of the accident 8 years ago. But it is the Calvin of tomorrow that the boy and his friends here at school are awaiting.
There was a time when I thought that I'd live my whole life like this, but now I realize that it can be changed.
But through plastic surgery and generosity, Calvin's face can be changed. $2,000 already has been raised toward a series of operations. However, that's far short of a $25,000 goal set by attendance officer Elaine Tate, who's telling Calvin's story to anyone who'll listen.
Almost 100% of the time there's a tear in their eye, you know, and they pat me on the back and say, "This is wonderful, good luck," but they don't give a donation.
Calvin goes into the hospital tomorrow for his first operation. He'll be out 6 to 8 weeks before facing a second one. In the interim period, some of his friends here at school plan to find out exactly how many friends Calvin really does have.
We're planning to have a airband contest, a talent show, a dance, and we're going to use all the funds from it to help him.
So far, we've made posters, and we've sent out newsletters, and we're getting in touch with the newspapers to try to get everybody involved.
And everyone who wants to get involved can contact Colleyville Middle School for more information. Jack Helsel, Channel 5 News, Colleyville.
The 15-minute chase ended when the suspect wrecked out the patrol unit at the T-intersection of Harwood and the abandoned Minter's Chapel Road. Grapevine policeman Donald Glick said the incident started when he tried to apprehend the man after learning a warrant was out for his arrest. Glick said the suspect jumped him and, during the struggle, grabbed the officer's service revolver. Glick said the man threatened to kill him, then jumped in the police car and sped off. Glick and Grapevine City Manager Floyd Ezell began the pursuit and were joined by 9 patrol units from Grapevine, Southlake, Euless, Colleyville, and DFW Airport in a chase which several times exceeded 120 miles an hour. After sliding over 100 feet into the bar ditch, the car caught fire. Pursuing police apprehended the suspect, but not after another struggle with 2 officers. No shots were fired, and Officer Glick's bruises were the only injuries. Bill Hicks, the Texas News, Euless.
Well, basically, it's been a very sound, quiet community.
But the usual quiet calm of Terra's wealthy neighborhood has been violently disturbed by police cars tracking a killer.
We don't have too much description other than possibly a white male with fatigues on. And I understand at one time he was wearing a mask.
Investigators think it was an early morning burglary gone bad. The man showed up at the door of American National Mortgage Company President Lee Herron. The police think the man was surprised to find Herron's wife and children home, went berserk, strangling Judy Herron and attempting to kill her 5-year-old son David. The Herron's other child, an infant, was unharmed. Little David escaped the killer's grasp and ran to a neighbor's house. He's now resting at HEB Hospital. Many people say they moved to the Terra subdivision for security. But this murder, this act of violence, not only has residents in this posh neighborhood nervous, but many of the people who live around Terra are now patrolling their homes with guns.
By gosh, it's kind of close to home.
Jack Jones lives on a farm only a block from where Mrs. Herron was killed.
I think that's my right to own a gun, and just for purposes like this, if nothing else.
And many who live in this rural area of northeast Tarrant County believe the same way and plan to keep their guns at their sides until this killer is caught, and probably even after. Mike Snyder, Channel 5 News, Colleyville.
With a little over 3,000 residents, Colleyville is a typical relaxed Texas town. From the horse barns at Ross Downs to the farmer plowing his fields and to chow time for the cows. Now, the downtown area of Colleyville is basically the same as a few years ago, but in suburbia, Houses are springing up everywhere.
Hi, like an orange sherbet, please.
All righty.
Now, like that new subdivision and the apartment complex on the way, Colleyville, like a lot of other towns in Texas, is growing. And the City Council tonight took a step in a direction in which they'll be able to control the way that it grows. Great.
There you are. Thank you much.
The council had before it tonight an emergency measure which would allow them to approve city expansion, not the Planning and Zoning Commission. And the citizens' questions didn't seem to be about the council's right to do that, but only their timing.
We voted for it. I think it's high time the elected officials stood up and be counted.
I'm in favor of the ordinance, but I do not believe it is an emergency situation.
The council approved the measure, and from now on, they will be responsible for the growth of the city, a growth that undoubtedly is on the horizon. Dan White, Channel 5 Action News, Colleyville.
It's a 4-square-mile suburb of opulence. This is a community where 3-car garages, maids' quarters, and immaculately groomed yards are the norm, a place Francine Levesque loves.
I think the best place to live. I wouldn't mind to stay here for the rest of my life.
Francine and her family live in Colleyville in northeast Tarrant County, the best suburb in the Metroplex according to the American Suburbs Rating Guide. Colleyville residents have the biggest paychecks in the Metroplex, the lowest crime rate, a respected school system, and the most parkland. At every turn there's a pond, a playground, and a picnic table.
We come here every day.
Really?
And it's just like a real nice place to hang out. Yeah, we stay for an hour, have our lunch, and we go back home, and that's it.
The 15,000 residents who live here have plenty of room to roam. Not only is parkland abundant, but many of the homes are on lots big enough to graze horses or even zebras. Unlike many of the other highly ranked suburbs, Colleyville still has plenty of room to grow. There's a lot of commercial and residential construction going on just about everywhere you look. You can find some older, more modest homes, but the average house in Colleyville will run you about $200,000. But if you can afford it, the American Suburbs Rating Guide says Colleyville is the suburb of your dreams. Linda Frederick, Texas News 5.
I'd have a gun whether or not he was here or not. I think that's my right to own a gun. And just for purposes like this, if nothing else.
Jack Jones wasn't the only one to reach for his gun this afternoon. He and his neighbors live in the rural area at the edge of Tara. When the word and the fear spread from the subdivision, they armed themselves and began to patrol. Inside the wealthy complex, fear had already taken hold. Since last summer, residents have experienced a rash of break-ins, a steadily increasing crime rate. They were getting organized long before the murder.
We're trying to instigate a crime watch system here in Terra in conjunction, I believe, with the Colleyville Police, and due to what has started this summer, and in an effort, community awareness, this type of thing, because it is a very close-knit, everyone knows everyone in this area, and I think that the response will be very, very high, especially after this incident this afternoon.
It will be a long time before the people of Tara forget this day. More likely, it will serve as their clarion call for vigilance. From here on, their eyes will be wide open. Ron Trumblett, Channel 5 News.
Downtown Colleyville, Texas. Really not much to look at right now. There are only 6,500 people in the whole town. But the face of downtown Colleyville could change radically very soon. The key to it is that piece of property right there. It's planned for development, and it goes to City Council tonight. But the catch is that some people don't want that radical change. Many people move to Colleyville because of its rural atmosphere. An atmosphere guaranteed by a city ordinance requiring each house to be sitting on no less than an acre of ground. Those are the people who are against the proposal to build condominiums and retail space in the heart of town.
There is some concern of a few citizens that this will take from the planned atmosphere of Colleyville. But this is not so, because it has been, the master plan has been developed that lends itself to this type of development.
Besides being part of the master plan all along, something else that should soothe those people with ruffled feathers is what the proposed complexes would bring to Colleyville: cash.
this will enhance our revenue by some $100,000 a year just on sewer and water sales alone.
It will also bump up personal property tax revenues by up to $200,000, sales taxes up $150,000, and ad valorem taxes by $470,000. There is cautious talk at City Hall of a possible tax cut to property owners. In addition, I'm told school and police officials figure the growth won't mean an increase in the services that are provided right now. It seems the ideal addition to Colleyville. It may be. That will be determined tonight when the council holds a public hearing on the second reading of the project, and it promises to be a full house. Ed Martell, Channel 5 Action News, Colleyville.
The ranch is actually 7 homes, making up an outreach center for drug addicts. Today, Colleyville city engineers check for possible zoning violations. But a lawsuit filed yesterday by the family of a former resident raises more questions about Set Free Ministries. The suit alleges that a 17-year-old sent to the ranch for his drug addiction, quote, received drugs as a result of the program and was required to suffer indignity rather than receive help. The suit is against the Set Free Fellowship based in Anaheim, California. Its pastor, Phil Aguilar, a former supervisor at the Colleyville Ranch, and the Trinity Broadcasting Network, which leases the ranch property to Set Free.
Even if the allegations are to some degree true in the pleading, still there's not sufficient causal connection between Trinity Broadcasting.
Colleyville police investigated but filed no charges.
The young man made allegations of drug use and homosexual activity. The person he accused of supplying him with the drugs and being involved in the homosexual activity denies it.
Lacking evidence, police closed their case, but some living near the ranch worry about their neighborhood.
You basically got a large amount of young male people that are out of the California criminal system with nothing to do, and very little supervision that we can see.
Statements from the ministry and TBN promise a vigorous court fight. Barry Sims, Texas News 5.
Hey. Better! Second place again!
Extracurricular activities are a privilege.
In the Colleyville Grapevine School District, that privilege could soon come with a requirement that participants stay drug-free.
From basketball to band, the plan is to test students involved in any activity outside of the classroom. A computer would select up to 10% of that group each month at random.
80% of the kids in this district are involved in extracurricular activities, and most don't seem to mind the idea of testing.
I think if they're doing anything wrong, I think it should be, revealed. I don't think that it should be anything to hide.
But not every parent is turning flips over the proposal.
Their rights are being violated, and the student is guilty until he's proven innocent.
Jim Brucas thinks teachers and coaches should also be a part of the test. But other parents at the meeting Wednesday night said the focus must stay on the children.
Drugs are out there. They are a problem everywhere, and it is so important that we as parents be proactive in helping our children.
This is it!
Help that could keep some students on a much larger playing field for life. Jay Gray, NBC 5.
Nina Dunn doesn't shop in Grapevine nearly as often as she used to. This 15-year Braniff veteran has worked only sporadically since her company failed last spring.
I was very disappointed. I'd had 2 interviews with PSA, and I'd gotten my hopes up once again.
Nina isn't the only person here who's disappointed. Many Braniff workers live here. Their paychecks help this town grow. Nearly every merchant in town has seen some reduction in sales since the airline's fortunes fell. But Braniff took more than jobs and sales revenue from the city. Right now, the airline owes $366,000 to the city in back taxes. It owes even more to the Grapevine Colleyville School District. Braniff was the district's largest taxpayer. It owes the school system $685,000 in taxes. That amount is 5% of the district's budget, and it has to come from somewhere.
Local taxpayers probably will just have to take up the slack. It will mean just a little bit more on each taxpayer's tax bill.
Even more upsetting to school officials is the loss of future tax revenues. The PSA Texas division would have paid taxes to the district, and though it wouldn't have amounted to as much as Braniff paid, school officials say something is better than the nothing they're left with. Kevin Berger, Channel 5 Action News, Grapevine.
This is Ross Downs in Colleyville, just outside of Fort Worth. And every Sunday, horses race here. But now there will be one less.
At 7 o'clock last night, stakes winner Dude Rainey was located in the stall. But at 6 o'clock this morning at feeding time, the door was wide open and the horse was gone.
The horse Dude Rainey has an impressive record. In his first 5 starts, he won 4 races. He placed second in the other. But now the owners think he's headed out of the country.
I think he could be on his way to Mexico. But we've got a pretty good idea where who took the horse. And we're fixing to get into that too.
The horse you're looking at is the brother to Dude Rainey, and his face markings are identical. Now Rainey is a 3-year-old chestnut stud, and he's owned by a Brazilian, and the owner wants him back.
There's $10,000 reward out for the horse right now, and that's going to help some. But, it's just according to who wants to do some squealing, who's got the horse. That's the main thing, some people talking here and there, that's what we're hoping.
It's ironic, some people 4 weeks ago wanted to buy Dude Rainey. They were told he wasn't for sale. Dan White, Channel 5 Action News, Colleyville.
It happened at the intersection of Highway 114 and Whitechapel Road. According to police, a small car pulled out in front of an 18-wheeler gravel truck traveling east on Highway 114. There was a collision. The truck dragged the car into the median, the center of the highway, where it hit 4 parked cars and 2 pedestrians. The driver and passenger in the car were killed instantly. One of the pedestrians, a Fort Worth woman, died later. The other is listed in serious condition at an area hospital. The driver of the truck was treated and released. Police knew this was a dangerous area in Southlake. Heavy truck traffic, a flea market located near the highway, and people parking where they weren't supposed to.
We have a fairly good problem here due to the fact that the Grapevine flea market gets overcrowded. People park in the median, which is illegal. They're not supposed to be parking there.
The Grapevine flea market is open every Tuesday. Many of the vendors have been going there for years, but it wasn't until today that many realized how dangerous its location is.
I guess you don't realize till something like this happens how fast the traffic goes across there.
Police say speed was not the cause of this accident, but that too is a problem on Highway 117. Juanita Stevenson, Channel 5 Action News.
It's been a busy couple of days.
Starting at 4 in the morning on Thursday, when Southlake and Grapevine police served a warrant at this house in Southlake. Inside, they found guns, jewelry, cash, stereo equipment, and drugs. 7 pounds of amphetamines, worth $635,000. Outside, there were over 20 vehicles, mostly Corvettes and Camaros, and 1 gold-plated Harley-Davidson motorcycle. 27-year-old Freddie Lewis Hooper has been arrested and charged with possession of amphetamines with the intent to distribute.
Revenue that's generated by the sales of individual dosage units goes into the multi-millions. There's no question in anybody's mind about that.
Police believe the cars and the motorcycles were a hobby Hooper financed with his drug deals. Because all of this property was most likely purchased with illegal drug money, it now becomes the property of the U.S. government for its use, or it could be sold at public auction. The goods are valued at over $500,000. And as if drug enforcement agents didn't have their hands full with this one seizure, Fort Worth police arrested 2 people on Las Vegas Trail and seized 750 grams worth of cocaine. Arlington police recovered over $20,000 in cash and 4 pounds of speed in a separate arrest. Police say it's ironic these 3 major drug seizures happened in one day, but they say it's a clear indication of the commitment of law enforcement agencies to slow the drug traffic through North Texas. Linda Frederick, Channel 5 News.
Spring 1995. Denton police arrest a man after allegedly finding 2,500 explicit photos of children on his computer. In April of the same year, police arrest a Southlake man. They said he was distributing child porn on the net. A month later in Dallas, a Dallas school district employee is accused of downloading child porn on his office computer. Across the country, it's become common for police to go after criminals who are exchanging porn, like trading baseball cards online. But the dark side of the net isn't just about pornography. It's been a nightmare for Ronnie Wilson, who had her wallet stolen last March. Now thieves are buying items online with her personal information.
The very fact that they're using my driver's license, my social security number, and my date of birth, I mean, they're raping me of my identity repeatedly.
Someone's made more than $12,000 worth of internet purchases in her name, and Ronnie's gone to Dallas police and is seeking help from creditors to cancel the invalid purchases.
And they're getting removed one by one, but there's chances of them reoccurring on my account, and so who knows when this will end, if ever.
Beverly Martin trusted an internet computer site called Computers R Us and got burned. She dished out money for a bargain computer, but the company disappeared along with her money.
Buying off the internet is a gamble. You can't send a money order or cash for some amount of money that you're not willing to lose.
The FBI, Secret Service, or local police like Fort Worth officer Troy Lawrence handle crimes like these, but say it's getting tougher.
The information is being transmitted so quickly that it's just growing by leaps and bounds right now.
And it's forcing law enforcement to play catch-up.
Even the laws aren't up to date. For wholesale promotion of child pornography in Texas, you have to have 6 or more images. Well, on a computer, that's not necessary.
If you have one image on your computer, you can make copies of it and send it digitally as you need to. But now police have a secret weapon, the hexadecimal code. This is what your hard drive looks like to a high-tech cop as they analyze the data stored on it. The code lets them retrieve almost anything, including data deleted by criminals.
Even though it's been erased, we can still find it.
The code is helping cops put a quick end to some of the internet crimes, but prevention starts with you. So how do you protect yourself from internet crime? Guard your password. Don't give it out to anyone who asks. Use the secure browser when you're shopping online. You'll see a key in the corner that tells you that you are connected to a secure site. Pay with a credit card. It's your best shot in your money back, just in case something goes wrong. Shop with companies you already know and trust. Never let your kids give out personal information online. Criminals can trace it and find your child in person. I'm Ricky Ragland for NBC5.
This is where the controversy begins. Carroll Middle School. Southlake residents claim the school was here even before the DFW airport was built. Jack Johnson Elementary School went up in 1980. Both schools are within 3 to 4 miles of the airport's new runway. Come November, jets will be flying within 1,100 feet of the schools.
We're 592 regional turn runway 18 right.
The FAA claims that will be necessary to keep the flying public safe, but Southlake residents claim no one told them the jets would be that close.
These 2 schools house all of the children of this age from Southlake, and if anything should happen to them, it would be a tragedy.
Homes like Payne's went up 5 to 6 years ago, along with the elementary school. The city allowed the residential zoning, claiming that it was unaware the runway would be an active one.
They were talking it was to be an alternate runway to be used in adverse weather conditions 4 or 5% of the time.
But this letter from the airport's legal counsel to the city, dated November the 13th, 1979, indicates Southlake officials knew the homes and the school would be built in an area where jet noise would exceed the acceptable level for school and residential living. Even so, Mayor Latta contends that airport officials changed their story about how many jets would be using that runway. Council minutes, the mayor claimed, would bear him out, but not one from 1970 to 1984 did. Instead, the minutes reflected the airport's plans for an active runway.
Law enforcement agencies estimate that obscenity is an $8 billion industry in this country. In Dallas, much of that business is done along a 3-mile strip on Harry Hines. Among dozens of adult businesses is the Red Letter News. a bookstore raided this week by Dallas police.
We seized over 3,000 obscene devices, plus at the residence we received many records that will help us in preparing cases later on.
In the police property room, more than 50 box loads of obscene sexual devices seized in the raid, one of the largest such hauls ever in Dallas. On top of that, the red letter raid also turned up business records that led police to this home in Southlake. Records found in a trailer behind the house show many of Dallas's pornography businesses are connected and that they have ties to a national obscenity ring.
The records were so complete, we'll have some idea of who's involved and how they're involved and the out-of-state connections.
We had previously suspected that there were out-of-state influences.
Assistant District Attorney Ruth Plagenhoff oversees the prosecution of obscenity cases in Dallas County. She says the pornography raid could result in 7 arrests in the next 6 weeks.
We're going to analyze the business records and we're going to take some cases to the grand jury.
Authorities expect to file at least 1 child pornography case in connection with the raid, a pornography bust that's given investigators an inside look at Dallas's obscenity trade. Cindy Kirkendall, Channel 5 News, tonight.
And I'm working with a man that's a master prosecutor. And Jack has done most of the work. He's let me do a little bit, but I think that it's the experience I'm getting here with watching how it's done and having the benefit of these 2 good cases has been quite a thrill, really.
You're speaking of your fellow prosecutor, Jack Neal.
Yes.
I think that this is reflected also by it. We've established certain systems at the present time for early investigation by our office in cooperation and coordination with the police departments. And I think that it has, the case preparation is in much better condition now from the time it leaves grand jury than what it used to be. I think that our prosecutors too are showing some real significant signs of ability. And many of these people that are presently prosecuting in these cases that we've obtained some rather good verdicts on have been products of our so-called training program that we have here. In other words, young men that have come in here from college and are now in the district courts and now prosecuting their cases and now doing a good job of prosecuting their cases.
Residents along Juneau Drive in West Fort Worth did what they could to keep a home for mental retarded children from opening last October. Mental health and mental retardation officials listened to their arguments and then tried to ease concerns, and then opened this home anyway.
Since we've moved in, no problems at all. Things have been pleasant and quiet.
Oh, it has calmed down considerably.
We don't hear anything from the neighbors anymore except concern about cars parking in front of the house.
And supervisors at the home are working to alleviate that problem. But the problems are just now heating up here.
So we're just hoping that we can stop it.
Topsy Brown has lived in this Colleyville neighborhood for more than 20 years. She just recently found out her new neighbors will be 4 adult males who suffer from a combination of mental illness and mental retardation.
It's tearing the neighborhood up. We've got 2 people that are sick right now from it because they're absolutely scared to death.
The residents didn't even know of the plans until just last Friday when one of the neighbors walked up to the workmen doing the renovations on the home and asked what was going on. Needless to say, most were shocked. And they started organizing, hoping to block the home from opening in a couple of months.
I'm concerned about the kids in the neighborhood in general and my 12-year-old specifically playing outside unattended.
But similar concerns from other neighborhoods have not stopped any MHMR residential homes from opening up in the Metroplex in recent years. Linda Frederick, Texas News 5.
Welcome to your new home.
Ross Downs has already put in a new fiberglass rim track for quarter horse or thoroughbred racing. Owners also have a new clubhouse in mind, but that park depends on state approval as a Class II betting track.
We have a marvelous opportunity here to get pari-mutuel kicked off in the right direction in Texas and establish a little market for ourselves, and I'm very optimistic about it.
If everything goes the way Owen hopes it will, Ross Downs will soon be looking at 44 racing day seasons with crowds of 6,000 to 12,000 people. And that's the problem for a group called Concerned Citizens of Colleyville. Most of their concerns centered on increased street traffic to and from the track.
The city just does not have the support services that would be required to adequately support this kind of facility. They have 3 patrol cars, 2 on the streets at any time. They have a largely volunteer fire department. Emergency medical services are limited.
Right now, the only other application for a Class II in our area is from Trinity Meadows in Parker County. But it's not an either-or situation. The case for pari-mutuel betting at each track will stand or fall on its own merit. Ron Trumblett, Channel 5 News in Colleyville.
The Mill Creek Edition in Colleyville is the highlight in this year's kaleidoscope of homes. Besides offering a variety of architectural styles, it's the first smart house development in the nation.
The main features are it's complete security type.
Builder Scott Simmons says homeowners will have space-age control over appliances and utilities. The smart house also provides special features like monitoring your home security through your television.
If you're watching TV in the family room, you can pick up the remote and switch it to any channel, such as the pool. The front of the house is a security device for the house.
To activate the system, all you need is a telephone. The phone can be in your car, at your neighbor's house, or even on the other side of the world. There's also a control panel inside the house. With the touch of a finger, you have unlimited capabilities.
This is the main service center for the smart system.
There is complicated wiring involved in providing the smart house system, and the cost could run as much as $20,000. But Simmons says the popularity of this futuristic system is catching on.
With the cost of the materials becoming more competitive and the contractors and vendors becoming more familiar with the system, I think that it's going to be something that's going to be in the near future.
If it does catch on, the smart house system could revolutionize the way we function in our homes. Stephanie Boswell, Texas News 5.
Southlake is a sleepy spot on the map that's blossoming into a bedroom community. But some areas are growing too rapidly and the water supply isn't keeping up. Water is rationed every summer.
You don't have enough to get by, all right. You can take a bath and make your coffee and all that kind of stuff.
Southlake officials want to end their water problems by building a 1.5 million gallon water tower out here. The tower would stand 140 feet high.
But DFW airport officials say that is too high because the tower would be right in the middle of a flight path from the airport.
The tower would stand 3 miles from this DFW runway. It would be well within FAA height standards, but 80 feet too high to suit airport officials.
Aircraft can maneuver and get out of each other's way. This tower is not going to move.
But the city won't move its tower location. Officials say this is the best available and affordable spot.
I've got to have additional overhead storage. That's the only way I can satisfy the needs of the population out here.
The federal air traffic controllers do not need one more factor to complicate the management process.
The matter may be settled in court.
I'd sure like to find another way to satisfy the requirement without going to court.
Tower construction is set for July. Construction DFW officials say they oppose for the sake of safety, but a move Southlake leaders say they are making out of necessity. Tim Herrera, Channel 5 News, Southlake.
This heavily wooded area behind me is part of a 35.5-acre tract in the southeast part of Southlake. It's prime land, ready for development, and it's been rezoned for residential use. The only problem is it lies just 2 3/4 miles from the end of a future runway at DFW Airport. The property's owners say they want to develop estate-type residences, lots of 2 to 4 acres with houses of at least 2,000 square feet of living space. That was about all one owner would say. He refused to answer other questions about the development 2.7 miles from the end of the planned crosswind runway on the west side of the airport. At that distance, planes landing would only be 800 feet or less above the property. Altitude of those taking off would depend on the type plane, its weight, weather conditions, and so on. Airport officials say that probably will cause complaints about the noise. State Highway 183 just behind me is also 2.7 miles from the end of a runway. In this case, the south end of the main runways at DFW. So these conditions might approximate those to be found several years from now at the Southlake development. The existing crosswind runway is used only about 1% of the time, so it's not exactly crowded. But although the airport master plan called for construction of the second one in 15 or 20 years, airport spokesman Jim Street says it might be sooner.
It could be as soon as 2 to 3 years that we would start constructing that runway, and it could be open, say, in 5 years after, 5 years from now.
Street says there wasn't much the airport could have done to halt the rezoning, except a protest, which it did unsuccessfully. But airport officials say that doesn't mean they have to like it.
Airports and houses don't belong in the same zoning category, and in our opinion, this is a dumb place to build a house.
Bill Hicks, The Texas News.
The houses in Southlake are mostly big, in the $250,000 price range. All are built on at least half-acre lots. There is no multifamily housing here, and the crime is virtually non-existent.
We think that we're the city of the 90s, and we hope that, and I think that people that live here will agree with that.
The boom started about 5 years ago when IBM built the Solana project. 3,000 to 4,000 people work in this facility, sitting on 900 acres of prime commercial land. Then mobile came in and started building houses, big houses and planned communities. Developers say they're selling these $500,000 homes faster than the builders can put them up.
And we were in the country for a while, but just across the road, they're supposed to develop that in the near future.
Sam Burnett moved here 14 years ago to get away from the city. He's concerned about what progress will bring.
Higher taxes and more traffic, loss of country atmosphere, things like that.
But he's resigned to the fact that progress is inevitable and healthy if it's controlled. That's the prime goal of city planners, who hope to have builders and developers construct neighborhoods and prosperous retail centers without interfering with the quality of life, where kids can sell their Kool-Aid and ride their bikes without fear. Linda Frederick, Texas News 5.
There is always a steady flow of customers at the Berry Good Buys resale store. Proceeds from all the sales at this store help to support the Women's Haven, a shelter for victims of family violence.
After seeing any aspect of family violence, it's impossible not to want to help.
This is a nice outfit. This is Kathy Smith's way of helping. She comes to the resale shop at least once a week to help sort and price the clothing that is put up for sale. She is also the person the store depends on to restore used dolls.
She refurbishes dolls and brings them and donates them to us. So we put those up in our glass case and they sell, bring in money for the Women's Haven.
She says she started volunteering 4 years ago when her family moved to Colleyville as a way to get involved in the community.
It's just something that you once you get started in it, you just can't stop.